Hey guys, in this video I will reconstruct my 21.33 tied European record mean, which I got at Rhein-Neckar Mental Breakdown 2023, and which at the time of recording ranks me 5th in the world. So this is the first scramble, or rather the inverse of the first scramble. The EO count on this is 6 bad, 4 bad, 6 bad, and there were only 7 form VOs, all on the RL axis. However, two of them involved doing one move to 6 bad and then switching, which I did not consider during the attempt, so I only had 5 for movios to work with. The one that I ended up using, starting on the inverse, the 4 bad edges are like this, so pretty bad, but I can do an L move to reduce to a different 4 bad, and if I switch back to normal, the 4 bad edges are like this, and I have two ways to continue for a 4 move VO. So U prime B2L, or what I did, B U prime L. So yeah, this is a 4 move VO, and there is no instant DR triggers. But since I had very few 4 move VOs, I still decided to switch. And back on inverse, on UD we have DR minus 66C, which sometimes can be decent, and here there are two columns and a pair, so I figured there might be a sharp DR, and indeed if I do an F, I reduce to DR minus 6E 4C, and I just have to do a U prime to set up to the trigger, and from there F prime B2B or B prime R2F gives me DR in 9, and this is a 3/4 turn HTR minus 2C4E, so a really good case, and I ended up starting working on HTR on normal. So after switching back to normal, this is what the cube looks like. So you can try to set up to the 5 move trigger, but I simply ended up doing, changing the last move of DO to an L prime and then a D to reduce to 2/4 turn 44C in 10 moves. And when switching back to inverse, using the F prime U2 B variation and changing the last move for a B prime, I could simply set up the trigger by doing U2 F2. And from here, there are two ways to reach HTR in 16. And I did D, L2, F2, and D prime. And here it's a pretty easy finish. I mean, F2 sets up the R2, F2, R2 case. So yeah, I could simply finish by doing U2, L2, B2, L2, and then D2, with the D2 cancelling with the D on normal, giving a leaf slice in 21, which can lead to a very easy rewrite for 21. However, I ended up missing a really easy 20 on the other variation of the DR, which I'm quite embarrassed about. But yeah, pretty much after doing the same moves on normal, and this time using the B prime R2F variation, I could simply do U2 and then F2 or B2 to set up the trigger due to the placement of these edges. But for some reason during the attempt, I only considered B2. Maybe I was just too happy after getting a 21 move solution on not so great scramble. But yeah, I completely missed that you could do F2, D prime R2 B2D for HTR, and then L2 B2, D2 L2 D2, so 5 minus 1 finish for a 20. So I'm quite mad about missing this really easy solution, but 21 was still a great start to the mean. Moving on to the second solve, this scramble was 4 bad, 4 bad, and 8 bad, and had a total of 15 4 movios. I ended up doing one on normal and on the UD axis, so the good edges are here. So I just did F, then I can do DRD prime, I did D prime, and then RU finishes the EO. And from here, so I have no instant RZP, but I did R prime to reduce to 44C on FB in 5 moves. And this case might look really bad to most DR solvers, but it's actually 6 moves away from DR if you use a 5 move trigger. So B prime sets up the 5 move trigger, L prime gives another 44C, and then F prime R2BL solves DR in 11 moves and gives once again 3/4 turns HTR minus 2C4E. So it's pretty well set up on this side, but I ended up switching. On inverse, I did U2F to reduce to 2 quarter turn 2E4C, and then I did R2 to set up the 5 move trigger, and then B prime. But before finishing HTR with D2, R2, L2, etc., I just did a quick trace, and I saw that if in this position I switch back and I change the last move of DR to an L prime, I can just do an F to give HTR in 16, and from here, so R2, L2, D2 gives 2E2E in 19, and I can just immediately do Nate minus 5 with so D2, R2, F2, R2, D2, B2, L2, B2. So that gave 22, which was optimal from this DR and also from all of the DR I found during the attempt. So now moving on to the last solve, I was really nervous going into the attempt since I only needed a 23 for French NR, and I had a shot at getting European record with a 21 or better. So this was a scramble with a funny EO count, 4 bad, 10 bads, and 2 bads. And the scramble was really good. There were 2 3 move EOs and a lot of 4 move EOs. I did the 3 move EO on FB, on normal with the 4 bad edges like this. So R, U, B prime. And looking on RL, it is set up to DR minus 43C, but it is actually already set up to one of the 5 move triggers. So I just did U to reduce to 2E3C, L prime, U, R prime, and I did U prime. So this is DR in 8 moves, and it is 3 quarter turn HDR minus 6C 4E, which if you do a slice is just the same subset as I've been getting throughout the entire mean. I found a backup 22 really early, so yeah, I just did B2 to set up the 5 move trigger, and then R, F2, R, B2, R to get HDR in 14, and from here, yeah, I just did U2, L2, U2, and R2 to create this big block, and then B2, D2, B2, D2 gave me a 22, which I found in 7 minutes, if I recall correctly, which guarantees me sub 22 and French NR. But I actually ended up finding something a bit better, so I switched after the DR, and if I do U2, B2, and L prime, I can reduce to 2 quarter turn 2E4C. And when switching back, finishing the DR with U prime, I can set up the HTR trigger with D2, B2, and then from here, L prime F2 L gives me HTR in 16, but it's really close from 3E skeleton if I do F2, L2, B2, L2, you know? So I ended up focusing on the F and B layers, and I saw that this was just a really easy finish with F prime B prime U2, and then F prime B prime L2, with the L2 cancelling with the last move on inverse, which ended up giving 21. So 21 was indeed optimal for the DR, but also for the 9 move variations you can get by inserting a random half turn before doing the 2E3C trigger. I ended up finding another 8 move DR, which was 4QT. I tried it for a bit and did not find better, but turns out there was a way to get a 20, but it's like not the easiest, so I'm not too mad about missing it.